So today I'm going to be using a product from DAP. It's orange peel texture. I'm going to be heading out to a job site. We've got a lot of interior patches on the walls where we've eliminated some outlets. We're filling it with drywall patches, and we're going to be doing texturing. I've never used DAP's product before. I'm going to be putting it to the test. I don't want to be testing it on the customer's house. I'm going to test it right here before we head over and begin doing our texturing. This is an orange peel texture. It's got an adjustable fan right here, and it tells you right on there. We got heavy. You start to open it up. I've got fine, I've got medium, and I've got heavy on there, and it tells you right here there's an arrow pointing to what texture you're on. It's got a trigger right here that you're going to pull, and it's very simple and easy to use. So it's got just a little lock right here. This locking mechanism keeps accidental trigger pulls from happening. So I'm just going to unlock it. I'm going to mess around with different texture styles. And so I'm going to mess with fine, I'm going to mess with a medium, I'm going to mess with a heavy, and so you can just dial it in and out to match the texture that you're going to be dealing with. Shake for more than a minute, so I'm going to shake this thing for more than a minute once the ball breaks free. It has a dry time of 30 minutes. Now, the dry time is pretty important. I've used spray can textures for over the last 25 years. The water-based ones typically took a long time to dry, hours to dry. Sometimes you'd have to just wait till the next day to come back, paint it. This says it's going to dry in 30 minutes, so we're going to be putting that to the test. It also says you do not need to prime. So it's got something in it that makes it so I can spray it, 30 minutes later, I can roll my wall paint right on there without priming. Cleans up with water, which is awesome. So store it between 90 and 40 degrees. So when I start spraying, I'm going to be probably like 12 to 18 inches away from my surface when I start spraying. So I'll show you what it looks like. So put it, that's on fine. I'm going to mess around with it with medium. Definitely going to see, one thing I noticed, they said to use it in short bursts. If I keep the trigger pulled and do the circular pattern, I start to lose pressure. So I think the short burst thing is definitely makes... I tried a circular pattern and tried to work my way out, and it starts to build it up, too fast right there. So I think, the short burst, and it comes out in a circular pattern to begin with. So short burst, working around wherever your patch is going to work out the best. So now I'm getting ready to test out DAP's popcorn, sealing texture for walls and ceilings. It says 2-in-1 because of the nozzle itself. The nozzle can shoot in an upward motion, or it can shoot straight across on a wall. So it's a 2-in-1 can. Shake it upside down. We're gonna be spraying. I'm pretty bad about reading instructions. The instructions I typically, have used these cans, spraying them in a circular motion. It does say to spray in short, intermittent bursts. I notice when practicing with the cans, if you hold the trigger, the pressure starts to drop in the can. So I think definitely instructions are important, short intermittent bursts. This one doesn't have, an adjustment on it. It's just going to shoot, one type of texture on it. I've never shot popcorn out of this before. It is a water-based product. My first spray, I don't want to shoot it like right at my patch. Usually there's liquid in the tube itself. I want to get rid of that liquid someplace like in a bucket on cardboard or something. So I'm just going to do a short intermittent burst, get rid of that liquid that has kept the stuff from drying out in the center. Now I'm going to use my short intermittent burst. Say I had a patch on the ceiling and start spraying it. So I've got a nice popcorn texture, right there. A couple thoughts I know. I saw a comment, online, somebody said that, the texture coming out of these cans doesn't look like popcorn. That's probably the best product I've ever seen resemble popcorn, right there. It sprays overhead very well. So I sprayed it on a horizontal surface right here. It looks like a super heavy orange peel texture, but on the ceiling up here, the gravity, pulls down on it and it gives it more of that popcorn, style effect right there. And I, sprayed it different to try to, create different effects. I got really close right here, sprayed it really heavy and it's starting to pull, down on it. I sprayed it a little bit lighter up there and it gives it kind of a lighter popcorn, effect. So I think it's one of those things, just like, any product, it just takes a little bit of practice to, master it and stuff. And I just went through one can, kind of figured it out. Now, if I ever had to use it again, I kind of have an idea of, how it's going to spray. If you are going to reuse the can, turn the can upside down and spray it, clearing out the nozzle. As soon as it's air, now your nozzle, the tube is cleared out and you can reuse the can. So it's pretty important to turn it upside down. The standard cans that I've used in the past, these act a little bit differently, and it's a good thing that I was practicing. So I've been practicing with orange peel, popcorn. Now I'm testing out the knockdown right here. This is a knockdown product, so it's typically going to come out a lot heavier than you're just going to use a drywall knife, like a taping knife, and knock it down when it's ready to be knocked down. This is the fine. So I'm going to turn it on. We'll go straight to heavy. Put it on heavy and do that across the bottom. Yeah, you can totally see big difference between. Put it on medium. So you can get an idea of what I'm looking at, fine, medium, and heavy. So when I head out to the job site, what I'm going to use to match. You have between 30 seconds and a minute to knock it down. If you wait too long, you could end up picking up, dry pieces of the spray can, and it's just going to throw a line right down, through your texture. So don't wait too long. Make sure you have your knife, whatever size knife you're going to be using, and have a wet rag to be able to clean your knife and knock it down. And I wouldn't try to grab the knife very aggressively. Just grab the knife, really lightly in your hands. I kind of just pinch it in between my two fingers. Just barely set it on there and drag it across. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure at all to actually knock it down. Got a little bit of practice with it. I think I'm going to be pretty comfortable with spraying it out on the job site now, and I won't need to do any practicing anymore. Alright, so I've done my patches now. I've got a California patch, patched the electrical box with drywall. I skim coated it, sanded it, and I skim coated it again, and now I'm gonna do my final sand. If you sand without, say, like a vacuum sander, it's gonna create a lot of dust inside the customer's house. I like to use a dustless sander, EcoSand, with my vacuum behind here. It won't leave any dust, so it's gonna pick up the dust on the wall. It's gonna keep any dust from falling down on my drop cloth. I like using a 1/2 inch sponge on my final sand because it'll take out, some of this, the texture, the skim that I did in my texture right there. So it's gonna help it blend. It'll help my spray texture blend better. So I don't use a flat on my first sand. I use a flat abrasive. On my second sand, I use a 1/2 inch open cell foam abrasive that will contour to the texture around. I'm not gonna do a heavy sand. I don't want to sand down to the paper of my drywall patch. And I can see like the paper, I skimmed right over some paper right there. I want to get it as flat as I can, but I want it to blend in. Next step is to mask off, get everything covered. The texture kind of comes out, it splatters. It does kind of like make a little bit of a mess. So you want to have a drop cloth down. I've got some masking on the baseboards down below too. I'll be texturing this patch and then we'll be rolling the wall afterwards. Beauties of the product is, say I got a heavy spot that I didn't like, it is a water-based product, it's just going to wipe right off. I just keep a towel sponge with me, just in case. You got two options. You can spray it with a spray texture can. That's approximately $30 for the can. Or you can call a drywaller out here and load up a hopper and spray it like it was originally sprayed with a large hopper and topping compound. They would mask off this whole entire wall, mask off all the trim and shoot it. And that's probably gonna cost at least $500 to come out here and spray texture through the entire wall to get a perfect blend on here. This is gonna be a nice patch right here. It's blended in nicely. It's gonna look awesome. I'm gonna just lightly sand it. I don't want to take my mechanical sander now because it'll take off that texture way too fast. I'm barely gonna take any pressure, and this is gonna knock down any high peaks on this texture to get it to match the texture, the surrounding texture, and to knock off anything like heavy drips or drops that come along these outside edges. I'm just gonna take, and this is a fine sanding sponge, and I'm almost gonna put just zero pressure to it. I'm gonna lightly just run it over the texture, just like this. Barely any pressure, knocking it down. Any peaks on there. Now it's ready to paint.